Oh, we got a problem here? We got a problem here? We got a problem there? Oh, what else?
You know, this revolution is filled with so many ironies, really. First, you tell us that it is manly to keep your word, right? If you are a man, you keep your word. And now all of the black people in this country are demanding, and even the black people in the whole world are demanding, is that you keep your word. You told us we were free. Well, then show us that we're free. You told us that there is justice, equality for all in this country. Well, then stick to your word and let us see the justice and equality for all. Or else admit to us that you're not a man, you're a worm, you're afraid of us, you're afraid to give us equal stand. You're afraid that if you give us equal ground, that we will match you and we will override you.
Your ass is next. Your ass is next.
Oh, we got a problem here? We got a problem here? We got a problem there? Oh, what else?
Y'all want to see a dead body?
In my mind.
Your ass is next.
You can kill all the black folks you want, baby, but you will not kill the freedom of black folks. It's coming. We're going to get it. We fought every one of your damn lousy wars, baby, and you give us nothing. Now the war is going to be here, but we're going to be free. Now you kill you want to, but we kill too.
All right. Let's see here. I think I am good. I'm going to take the mute off the ladies. Interesting stream tonight. Appreciate you watching The Villager on Deck. If you're going to catch this live, I appreciate you. If you're going to catch the playback, if you're watching this on the playback, I appreciate you. I don't know why y'all weren't here. I gave you a time and I was late. So I don't know why anybody couldn't get here on this live, but I appreciate you nonetheless. Let me get a bed going here. I've literally been wanting to talk to these ladies since I heard about this situation, saw a post on Facebook, and my main thing was when I heard about someone getting hit with Narcan and it was unjustified. I guess my issue with the whole thing was, why was Narcan used? But then to hear the whole scenario, it was kind of wild. So we are literally going to talk about Washtenaw County deputies dosing Narcan to lucid citizens. That's literally what this is about. There's no clickbait. We literally going to talk about this right now. So I've got a couple shares out. Hopefully everybody's going to be, yes, you do. But yeah, the main thing was, and we're going to start that right now. The ladies are asking me, are we going to be on camera? Yeah, I started with the thumbnail out. So I'm going to introduce Ravon and Tia to you guys right now, because what we've done here is we've come together based on a conversation that we had, and I think they need to tell the story because they can tell the story way better than I could. So I want to talk to, and I'm looking at a black shirt and a white shirt. So who's in the black shirt? Tia. Okay, Tia's in the black shirt. Ravon is in the white shirt. Well, they just look like light and dark. All right. So Tia and Ravon were two ladies that had a situation dealing with Washtenaw County, and I want to kind of cut out and let them tell their story about how they came to get hit with Narcan. So we're going to start it from the beginning. This is the first time we've actually talked on screen, obviously. But we had a brief conversation on the phone, and I said, you know what? Let's just, if you can, let's get this out, because I don't think this is probably the first time that this has happened to anybody. And if other people can come forward, I think they need to meet up with these young ladies and then proceed as such. So let's get really up on the screen here. Can we do that? Let's get up. There we go. There we go. So now, yes, you are on screen. They were like, do we have to be on screen? I was getting texts like, we got to be on screen. Like, yes, you got to be on screen. All right. So Tia, I think I've spoken to Ravon more, but we'll go left to right. So tell what happened. And if you both need to tell the story, feel free to tell the story. Just let us know how you came to get in contact with WCSO well before the whole situation with Narcan, if you will.
Okay, so I'll start the story. I got into it with Raymond's neighbor.
Okay, hold on one quick second. You're a little staticky here. Hold on one quick second. And if we've got any type of impedance, I don't want the bed to mess us up. So I'll stop the bed while you're talking.
We can watch this later on. Is it going to be recorded? We can film it.
Yeah, you can watch it later. Are you trying to? So if you got some volumes or something,
to save the video and send it to everybody, I could.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yep, absolutely. So do you have anything that's causing your volume to possibly be staticky? Every time you talk right now, every time you talk, it's staticky. So let's try to get that out of the way first.
Your kids.
If you got any type of amplification, it's going to feed back every time you open the mic. Yeah, don't worry about that. I'm going to send you your own link. You'll be able to break it down any way you need to.
I don't know what else it is.
All right, so let's try it again.
Hello?
That's good. And let's you say something, Ravon.
Is that better?
Yes. Okay. So are you on a laptop?
No, iPad.
Okay, so you're on an iPad. Okay. iPad mics are really sensitive. So if you want to, I don't know where the mic is on the iPad, but it'll catch amplification and it'll drop out, because it's not like meant for like one of these. It's really meant for, like just low level amplification. So don't have to worry about speaking softly, but just if anything is turned up on it, maybe you just want to kind of turn it down, or if you have any open windows, just it'll catch anything once you start to talk.
I just closed all of the windows.
That sounds pretty good. Now you say something, Tia.
Can you hear me?
Yep. You don't even have to come close. Just, I think the further back you are away from the mic, it'll help out. All right. So we're good. All right. So tell me the day that you came in to be encountering the Narcan thing, but let's start at the beginning. Like, why did the deputies show up at your house?
Okay, so they were already involved in something that had nothing to do with us, and we were just being nosy neighbors.
Okay.
So we were down there, we were just making sure that it was a black young man out there by himself, and it was just a bunch of like Caucasian officers. The state boys were out there. It was just really weird, and they all had him like cornered. So we get nervous because they like to shoot and trigger happy sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And we was just watching and making sure that he was okay, but he was out there getting beat up by his baby's mother, and she ended up going to jail.
The man was getting beat up by the woman?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. It's 2023. I get it. I get it.
So he was like, I'm not going to jail no more, so I'm not fighting her. So we like, yeah, you did right.
Mm-hmm.
So she ended up going to jail. And we was like, they were like, why you out here or something? And we looked around and I'm like, who is he talking to? I'm like, we can watch if we want to. We're not doing anything. We're just trying to make sure that y'all don't kill this man over nothing stupid. Because they was like taking the baby out. They was driving the girl's car. It was just a bunch of weird stuff.
The deputies were?
Yes.
They got into a citizen's car?
Yes.
And
it's still parked outside right now.
Yeah.
It's not still running, is it?
No.
Oh, okay. Okay. To make sure.
She's still in jail and she can't get her car still. So
We don't know. It's just still there. The deputy backed it into a parking spot and left it there. So after that, what started our interaction with the police is a neighbor who used to live in my building came and knocked on the door. She asked if Tia would move her car so that she could park her U-Haul in the parking space that Tia was in. Because a couple days prior, she had accused Tia of
sideswiping her car.
Okay.
Declined to do that for her and told her, no, you'll have to figure it out where you are. We don't want to do anything because you said we hit the car a couple of days ago. And so that was that. And then you can take over. Was there any proof that you had sideswiped the car? Like, was she just accusing? Not at all.
She kept saying like, I'm the only blue car out there. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Usually I would like say something real mean to her, but I was in a good mood. I didn't really care. So the next day, it was a whole bunch of blue cars outside.
So we said to her, do you see there's now 10 other exact same colored blue cars out here? We never parked by your car. It wasn't us.
Okay.
From there, we went back upstairs. Well, no, I'm sorry. We were still upstairs at the time because she came to my apartment door. I live on the 3rd floor. She was at the time living on the 2nd floor.
Okay.
We were back in the apartment just kind of hanging out. We were actually getting ready to take the kids out. And at that time, one of the kids came to us and said to Tia, hey, mommy, they just hit your car. So we went out to the patio. I have a patio or a balcony, I'm sorry. And so I can see like the whole parking lot from the balcony. We went outside. She asked, Tia said to the person that was driving the U-Haul, hey, did you hit my car? The man said, no, I didn't hit your car. And honestly, at that point, I even said to the child that said that he saw it, I was like, well, you wear glasses and you didn't have your glasses on, so you couldn't have seen that. So we had, we weren't trying to like provoke the situation or anything like that. When the adult said he didn't hit the car, we just took it as the kid was, saying something, just being a kid. And then later on, actually, a little while later, somebody else had come by, and so
you missed a step.
What?
They were writing disorderly conduct.
That was after all of this part.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
So then after that, now you just made me lose my train of thought.
So you haven't gotten into it with anybody yet. There hasn't been any altercation. You're talking to your neighbor The lady
Correct.
still, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And it's okay. So yeah, let's just stay as chronologically
Order.
based as we can, because if we don't, we're gonna get to the part that I know everybody wants to hear, like how'd y'all get hit with Narcan, but there's a disorderly conduct thing coming up. So how did that get to a situation? So let's talk about like your thing with the lady, because she wasn't taken away immediately. It sounds like she was taken away later too. So they had 3 cars there because they took you.
No, okay, so the 2 individuals that we were arguing with were separate from the individuals that the police were originally out here for.
Got it. Okay. See,
So
I know that little about this, y'all. We talked briefly, but that I was thinking that your whole altercation came from the people. Okay, so this is something. Okay, so this is about to get real good. Okay, so I'm gonna listen, just like I'm gonna listen.
Happened to be here at the time, and so it ended up becoming an argument because when we went outside, we noticed that there was paint missing, or paint on the side of her car, which was orange, and you could see where it was missing from the U-Haul. The U-Haul was parked right next to Tia's car.
Okay.
After that, we tried to confront them, let them know, hey, you did in fact hit the car. And then Tia was like, I'm calling the police. I want to make a police report about them hitting my car. When the first set of police arrived, we were still arguing. At that point, they said that they wanted to fight and all of this other stuff.
Listen, it's funny because when the police were not there, they were like, oh, we're going to stay in the house, like real, like scared and stuff. So then when the police arrived there, that's when they got like coming outside, like they wanted to fight us because the law enforcement was there.
So they thought they would protect him, hold me back type of shit. Okay, I get it.
So at that point, again, we were just on the balcony at that point, and they were on their balcony, so we were just kind of arguing back and forth. The next thing you know, the police are still outside at this point. We hear a knock on the door and open the door, and there's 2 pink pieces of paper at my door step. So we picked them up, and it said that it was a citation for disorderly conduct. So
Pause. You heard a knock at your door. You went to the door. I know the 2 pieces of paper didn't knock. Who knocked on the door? The deputies?
Yes.
But this is crazy. We never said our names. But magically on those papers from them said her name.
And that it was for disorderly conduct.
How did they know her name?
So at that point, we grabbed the paper. They were walking, like they were already almost out the building completely by the time we got to the door and like realized. So we started following them, went to the car. Well, they immediately, like, we were like, hey, what is this? Like trying to ask them what we got this for, like what exactly they were saying was disorderly about our behavior. And they literally got in their cars and just shut the doors and pulled off. And so, Tia, I don't know if you want to speak about what you did with the citations.
I ripped them up into pieces and threw them in the street.
So, okay. So why are you littering? Were you at this point, you're in no danger of being detained or anything. They're leaving. The cops are leaving.
Yes.
So at this point, they've come to the door. They've knocked on the door. They left citations. You've come back outside. You tore the citations up and you threw them out. Where's the 2 people that say you swiped their car? Where are they at this point?
So then I called 911 and told them that they better get the fuck here, or I'm gonna beat this bitch ass for hitting my car. So that's what the 911 call says. So they come and they're like, what's going on? So I'm trying to tell them. So then they come outside and the man comes and like steps to me like he wants to fight and stuff. So I'm like, I don't care. I'll fight dudes too. I don't care, whatever.
The man that was getting beat up by the woman a few minutes ago.
No, the man that was helping the women move out.
One of the men that hit
okay.
my car.
The man that hit the car as well.
Okay.
that was driving.
Okay.
So he started like trying to run up on me because the police was standing in the middle of us. And he just like was showing out in front of the police to me. So I'm telling the police the story and they're like, calm down. I'm like, no, back up from me. Because he kept like moving like all of a sudden. Like I get nervous around them.
Mm-hmm.
Like it makes me really like nervous inside. So I just be like, back up. I don't want you like touching me. So she was like, I was showing them where the orange paint was.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, well, unfortunately, we can't do anything because this is private property.
What?
I said,
The police said that?
He said he would not give a police report regarding the hit when it was pretty obvious. We took pictures and everything. We're like, we need a police report for the insurance company.
Right.
Because there was also like a stamp from it. And he said, I'm sorry, this is private property, so I cannot do anything about it, and you will not get a police report.
My vehicles have been hit in 2 of those apartment complexes on Gulf side, and we called the police. They came out, gave us a card because, I mean, nobody was hurt. The cars were sitting, you know, just so I could have it for the insurance. So when did the police stop doing that? I mean, that's odd, but okay. So are these the same cops that were just there? Did they loop back, or are these okay? So these are the same. So they really didn't go anywhere. They came right back. Okay.
they been sitting somewhere so they can just whoop because there was a lot going on weeks prior to this incident. So when
Sure. Oh yeah. It's hot over there. It's real hot over there. I get it. I get it. Okay. So he's not going to do a police report, and you're still standing there. Everything is still calm right now. Everything is still okay.
Talking to another officer. No, okay, so these were not the same officers. The same officers arrived later on.
Okay,
but
right.
When the first ones that arrived were 2 separate officers in 2 separate cars.
Okay.
Different officers. So they're like, we don't know the story, calm down. And then that's when they decided, when we told them the story, that there wasn't going to be a police report written. At that point, Tia said,
I said, okay, since this is private property, I'm gonna beat this bitch ass on private property. That's what I told him.
You said that in front of the cops?
Yeah, so she got to squaring up and I was gonna square up, and as soon as I was gonna connect to her, he pushed me on the car
and said, you're going to effing jail.
Yep.
And so at that point, the other cop kind of diverted his attention away from me and towards his partner and Tia. And he went over and grabbed her other arm, and I watched as they pushed her against the car, and just was very aggressive. She was literally saying, like, I don't care, I'll go to jail. You can arrest me. And they were just being super aggressive. And then, so at this point, we knew we still had the children upstairs. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, more than likely she's about to go to jail. So let me go upstairs with the kids, so they are secure. And then at that point, when I was doing that, I was still looking out the door and the window. The kids were visibly upset because they seen that happen to their mother.
Mm-hmm.
And so at that point, I saw that they were, her foot was still out the door, and they kept pushing the car door shut, and her foot, her ankle and her foot were literally hanging out, like half of her leg was still hanging out.
Did you have handcuffs on at this time?
Handcuffs are on. Yeah.
Okay, and maybe I missed it. I don't think I did, but you never struck anybody. You never hit anybody. This was based on just your demeanor. It was just
her saying that she said, okay, so since this is private property, I can go beat that bitch's ass.
And this is the crazy part. They told me that I was gonna get arrested, but she antagonized me because she was parked over on the other side where the U-Haul was. She swung her car right in front of the police car.
So okay. Like, can you address that? Can you?
So she started coming like she wanted to fight me. I'm gonna, you want to fight? Let's fight.
So were you kind of like lunging at her, trying to get towards her at that point? Okay.
And the guy that was in my face from the beginning, he was like, "Yep," and then she eat you, beat that bitch ass. I guess that was his girlfriend or something. And I'm like, okay, come on, you know. So the police was like, now you're gonna go to jail for attempted assault.
Okay, so that's the reason for the detaining. That's the reason for the cuffing, because they're trying to stop. They're trying to prevent the violence. Okay, because I was waiting for the altercation.
They put her in handcuffs, though.
They didn't put her in handcuffs. And so when she swung up with the car, got out of the car, she rushed you, or you rushed her. You guys were close. Like, how did that work out at that point?
I could have hit her if they were a little bit.
Okay.
They were fast.
Okay. So you were close enough to where you could have struck her. Okay.
Yeah.
So they put you in the car where they're attempting to put you. So they didn't secure you enough to get you in the car. Your leg is hanging out of the car. I mean, were you fighting getting into the car? Because generally they do your head, and if there's an issue with you, they do your feet. Like, why were you like hanging out the car?
They were trying to throw me in the car.
Okay. This isn't getting better for WCSO. I mean, and I gotta ask, do you know if there was any body cams on?
So this is crazy.
So when we were talking to them, I am under the impression that here in Washtenaw County, if the body cams are on, the red lights are flashing.
Okay.
There were no red lights flashing when we were having interactions with the officers.
So the whole engagement, you didn't see the body cams being on. Doesn't necessarily, I don't know body cams. I'm not a body cam expert, but I've kind of heard the same thing too. Maybe there are some that can work without it. Maybe there's a way to deactivate the light. I don't know. I just thought that when they get out of the car and they're going to encounter anybody, I thought body cams are supposed to activate. Like when they're in the car, I know they have the dash cams, and when they get out of the car, I thought the body cams kick on. And I don't know everything. I don't know a lot about policing and body cams and stuff like that, but I want to definitely dig into that, because that's interesting to me. If there's no proof of this, literally what you're documenting here, it's almost like hearsay. There's got to be some like they've got to be able to document where these deputies go. And if they have some type of altercation, what if there was something that happened? What are they going to come back and say, oh, we never turned our body cams on? Or do they have to manually turn them on? I mean, that's leaving a lot up to an officer if he's like involved in something, to say, hey, you got to remember to turn your body cam on, when he may have to jump out and break up a fight or something. What if he doesn't? And what if something happens and there's no proof? Something tells me that there's some type of footage, whether it be from a dash cam or from a body cam. Right now, how many officers are we actually talking about being in that little area at that time? How many officers would you say were there?
I would count 6.
That's what I was going to say.
Okay, well, six officers. If there was 6 officers on the scene, let me just tell you, if there was 6 officers on the scene and there's not one body cam that documented any of this, then you definitely should be talking to a lawyer. And which I think you've already talked to a lawyer. I'm not going to act stupid. I know you've already talked to a lawyer. So that's a problem. That's a huge problem. 6 people on the scene. They're talking disorderly conduct. They're talking attempted assault, this, that, and the other. Somebody had to have some type of documentation. Or how many squad cars do you think were there? Were there? I mean, were they all doubled up, or did they all come separate in their individual cars?
I think just actually one were doubled up. The rest
Okay.
all in
Don't
separate
forget
cars.
the lady.
Oh, and another interesting thing is, I don't know who exactly she was, but okay, so I guess we should go and finish the story first. So
Yeah, absolutely.
to back up a little bit, at that point when I came upstairs and saw that they were smashing her foot in the door, I went back down the stairs, and my intention was honestly just to ask the officer what she was being charged with, and was I going to be able to come and get her out of jail. Immediately, as soon as I went out the front door, one of the officers immediately put me, he's like, oh, now you're fucking going to jail too. And he puts his hand to grab on my arm. I said, okay, if I'm going to jail, that's fine. I can walk. Can you please like let me go? Never told me to put my hands behind my back or anything like that. He just went to grab my shoulder and like escort me towards his car. So at that point, I stated again, if you want me to walk, I can walk. That's fine, but I don't really need you to be grabbing my shoulder that way. And so he tightened up his grip, and I twisted away. And at that point, he put me in a chokehold. And once he put me in the chokehold, I'm going to be honest, I definitely started punching and trying to get out of the chokehold. I could not breathe. I could not talk, literally. Was very confused as to why it escalated that quickly into something physical, and why he just said I was going to jail to begin with after just simply walking out of my apartment complex door. And so at that point, we actually went to the ground, though it was just one officer and I in that space. And
He took you to the ground?
We were on the ground. He was on top of me. I grabbed onto his vest, and I was holding on, and I know the officer. The officer knows me. I said his name, and I said, "You need to stop and let me go." At that point, more officers started coming, running over. It took them a little minute. They were tussling with me as well. And then I was told to, they kept just saying to put my hands behind my back and to stop resisting. So I did. I put my hands behind my back. They cuffed me and put me in the back of the police car as well. So at that point, I couldn't see Tia. I didn't know what was going on. Keep in mind, at this time, we are not displaying any type of behaviors that would indicate we're on opiates. We're very animated. We're very upset. We're
right.
Hostile. We're not acting sleepy, sedated, anything of the sort. It's the complete opposite of that. We were both extremely upset, and we both have trauma history. So looking back, we probably did, end up maybe over exaggerating at the beginning with getting into the argument with the other women. We maybe could have walked away or something at that point. But everybody was hot-headed at that time in the situation, us and the other people that were involved.
So now you're both in the cars. Now you're both in separate squad cars, correct?
Yeah.
So
okay.
the officer that protected me had asked me if he can search my purse, and I said no, he wasn't in my purse anyway. And then he got an old ID because I have my last year ID and my new ID now, or whatever.
Okay.
And he so got it like it is not hyphenated like it is now. So he just got in and started writing on a piece of paper and stuff. And he came to my door. He said, "No, I'm gonna let you go, and I just don't want you to come back here no more." So the heavyset guy, Presso, whatever his name was, he was like, "Why is she going to jail?" He was like, "Why? She got them kids upstairs." He was like, she didn't think about them kids. She needs to go to jail. So
who said that? The deputy said that?
Yeah.
So let's pause for a second. So ID and all that stuff. But is there a female officer on the scene?
No, and they searched us.
And both of us requested that a female officer be present, and they told us no. Well, I was told no. I'm not sure what she was told. I was told no, and told that he had the right to search me. But there was, backing up a little bit, once I got into the car, there was a woman sitting in the car. They didn't have on a officer uniform. The only thing she said was, when I got in the back of the car, because I was screaming because the cuffs were extremely tight. I actually still have marks around my wrist now 2 weeks later from the cuffs being that tight. And so I kept screaming at him to please loosen up the cuffs. And then I was also asking him to please roll down the window because it was super hot and I was sweating and all of that. And so I was told no. I said, well, if I'm being searched, I want a female officer to search me. I have a trauma history. I need a female officer to search me. He said, I'm not calling the female. You're going to get in the car, and you're going to sit here. I'm not rolling down the window. And so the only thing the female that was in the car said was, once I started screaming a little bit louder, she said, do you think I should get out? And he said, no, we're about to take her to the jail. And then off I went at that point on my way to the jail.
So you're gone, Ravon, you're gone, and Tia, you're still in the car in the parking lot?
I'm still in the car in the parking lot.
Okay.
So,
where are the kids? Where are the children now?
my kids are upstairs. He's
And how old are your kids?
My kids, I have 10 kids.
Okay.
My oldest is he's gonna be 12. I have
Okay.
a 10-year-old, a 9-year-old, a 8-year-old, a 7-year-old. My daughter just turned 6, a 4-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 1.5-year-old. And I have a 4-month-old.
Okay. So all of the kids are upstairs?
Are upstairs.
And do the police know they're upstairs? I think you've told them already. There's children upstairs, correct?
Oh, we missed that part. In the car, that was another thing that I kept screaming was, hey, can you please call their grandmother to come and pick them up? I was like, we have kids upstairs. Can you guys please make sure that the kids are within a dot and safe, like if both of us are going to jail? And then that's when they asked for the name and the number of the person that would be coming to pick up the kids. And like I said, then I was gone. So they talked to Tia about the kids, I guess.
And in no time, and I put this definition up because I've been asked a couple times before I put the stream up, what's lucid mean? Lucid means that you are intelligible, means that you can comprehend what someone is saying and they can do the same on your side. You are understandable, you are coherent. You never fainted, you never lost consciousness or any of that gave them the idea that you might have been on opiates. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right. So you're off, you're heading towards the jail, and Tia's still there, and the kids are upstairs. What ended up being the conclusion with, did they allow an adult to come to make sure that the kids were secure before they took you away, Tia?
So my mom and Ray Bond's apartment complex are so close together. So like if I go out of her apartment complex and then go down the street a little bit, you know how Gulfside is.
Yeah.
So yeah, they live in like this, like next to each other. So
Sure.
my mom just left, but she went home because she just left from getting water out my car.
Okay.
So she left, and then I was telling him my mom's information, and then he let the window down. They didn't have no air conditioner on in there. So one guy was like talking to me like he was antagonizing me, the one officer. Peso was, and there was another one that's name started with a T, but I knew him because we had seen him a few times while we were going with. Did you tell him about Nicole?
No.
Okay, so we have a friend that we have in common that we had to go take care of some business with, and we kept running and talking to this officer, and I just remember his face, his name, his attitude, all that stuff. They both were out there, heavy set dudes, and he was like, "No, that's why your ass is going to jail." And I'm like, "Fuck you," and cussing him out because I'm so mad. He rolled the window up on purpose, and I was like, I couldn't breathe. Like I was like, it was real hot. I was sweating. It's like it felt like a hot sunny day with no fans.
So I guess I'm still tripping because they've taken no care about that you have these children up there. I'm not lost in the story. I get what you're saying, but really, why were you going? Why was Ravon on the way to jail? Why were you on the way to jail if they knew you had kids and the kids weren't being supervised? There was no way for them to, because okay, let me just go back to the beginning.
We didn't care about the kids when we were down there. arguing with him.
Okay.
So that wasn't a
So
concern of ours.
so it wasn't a concern. Your kids weren't. They're saying the kids weren't a concern because you were having a disagreement with someone else who was at the. Okay, I get that. Just a lack of training here. All right. So, and generally, when there's a situation dealing with kids, did any of the officers ever go up to your apartment? Did they ever go up to your apartment and see about the kids or?
Nope. So this is the crazy part. So it was a few people that I known in my.
This whole thing is crazy. We ain't got to the crazy part. This whole thing is crazy. Go ahead.
It's gonna be crazy. So it was the people that were the guy that got beat up by his baby mama that went to jail. He ended up going upstairs and checking on my kids. It was another neighbor. It was the baby mama's mama out there. And all of them people went up there and checked on the kids. And Ray has cameras in her house. So we were seeing the kids being taken care of
By a complete stranger.
by a complete stranger.
We did not know this woman. The kids did not know this woman.
Not once did you see the police enter the apartment or nothing.
So when I look back at the camera, in a sense, I was relieved that they were with a person that was safe, but at the same time, we were like we kind of honestly would have rather the police call CPS than just leave them here with a stranger because something could happen.
Sure,
you know?
Absolutely.
We thought that the kids were going to be secured. We didn't know that they were going to leave without and take us and stuff without the kids first being picked up. And the only reason why I know that we both had to be gone at the time, or she was either on her way and I was definitely gone, is because when I look on my camera, I see the kids all looking out of the balcony window, and I hear them all say, "That's Nana, that's Nana, that's Nana," and the woman whose name I don't even know that was in my apartment was taking care of something. She said in the video, "Do you know that lady?" And the kids are like, yes, that's her grandmother, that's Nana. And then you see her come up and get the kids, and she locks up my door, and that was that. The police never, I have cameras at the door as well. They never came in here to check on the kids, to look at the kids, to anything of the sort. I'm not sure if the neighbors took it upon themselves to come up, or if the police asked them if they were willing to sit with the children. That wasn't explained to us either.
Okay, so your footage and everything ran. So you've been able to go back and see the footage and see the kids. The kids were okay the whole time. Nobody ever did anything scurvy in your place or anything like that. They were there. Now, both of you are gone now. Both of you are on the way to Hogback.
I'm not gone. I'm still in the parking lot. So I see my mom arrive, talk to the police, and walk upstairs. So that's when you can see on the camera my mom going in there telling my oldest son to get the kids ready, and she goes back downstairs. So, like I said, the window was rolled up, and I have a heart condition, and I just had surgery like a few months back for my heart condition.
And you conveyed all of this to the police that, it's hot and you can't breathe. And
so I started sweating and hyperventilating. I got asthma and stuff too. And I'm like, I can't breathe. He was kept opening the window, giving me water, and I'm like, something is wrong. My adrenaline is up real hard. I'm having some type of attack or something. So they end up calling the paramedics, and they take my blood pressure, and my blood pressure is 174 over 103 or something like that. And it's high for me. So I'm sitting there, and I'm just I'm like, y'all can't be doing that. He was like,
who took your blood pressure?
Huh?
Who took your blood pressure?
The EMS.
This is where? At the complex or at the jail?
No, in the parking lot.
So EMS came to the complex. Got it. Okay. Because we ain't got to the Narcan yet. I'm still trying to, I didn't realize that you had dealt with EMS. I knew you dealt with EMS after, but okay. So the EMS came and took your blood pressure. Okay. You never got out of the car? They obviously, did they do the blood pressure?
Yeah, I was sitting right there on it. And they came to the car and did it on my leg and on my arm, and they just kept trying to do a different place and my blood pressure was high. And like I was trying to calm down. Like I said, the officer gave me some water, and then the other officer that he kept antagonizing me, and he just kept saying he didn't give a fuck and all of this shit. And so I'm like, okay.
Was
I
he
don't give
using
a
that
fuck.
language? Was he using that language? He
Yeah.
said fuck? Okay.
Yeah.
They were very vulgar, and that's why we were cussing at them, because that's how they were talking to us from the
I
beginning.
mean, and I guess not that it matters, but it does. Were these officers black?
No,
No,
there was
not
not
one
one
black.
female and not one African American officer at all throughout
Okay.
the entire process.
It matters. I mean, it doesn't matter, but it matters. Okay. So 2 black women being detained by white officers, being vulgar, being nasty, not respecting their wishes to be searched, because you weren't saying you wouldn't want to be searched. You just said you would have preferred to be searched by a female. Didn't seem like you were posing them a danger, because I guess the only time there was an altercation or an attempt at an altercation was that right before you got into the fight. How did you get actually cuffed? What was their thing with you? Just because you were down there and involved in it? Like, what were they saying you were being detained for, Ray?
They never said. That was the thing. He just, as soon as I walked out and opened the door, he went to grab my arm and said, "Now you're fucking going to jail too." And I told him I didn't care, but I did keep saying, like, what am I going to jail for? What did I do? He never answered me. And then, of course, we began fighting. But even in the car on the ride to the jail, I'm still asking him, what am I being charged with? You know, I was like, is it going to be a felony, a misdemeanor? Like, could you please explain to me? He didn't tell me anything.
Okay.
I
So,
never said anything.
I get it. So now, Tia, were you trying to say something? Because all I want to do at this point, I want to advance you to getting to the jail. Did you actually got to the jail, right? You both ended up at the county. I missed all that because of the static. Say it again.
Either you going to jail or you going to the hospital. I'm like, I'm not going to the hospital. And he said, why? I said, I don't want to go. So he tried to tell my mother that it will be better for me to go to the hospital because I wouldn't face any charges or something. I'm like, no, take me to jail. I don't want to go to the hospital. Take me to jail. And my mom was like, stop saying you want to go to jail. Tia. Your blood pressure is high. And the officer was like, your blood pressure is high or whatever. And I'm like, I stopped talking to him or whatever. And then the other officer came and rolled the window back up and we start driving off. We get to the county jail. He runs in real quick and then comes back out. He said, nope, you're going to the hospital. The jail don't want you.
What do you mean the jail doesn't want you? So, but you were detained for an attempted assault. Wasn't that what you were put in cuffs for? So now that charge is going to go away. That arrest is, well, not charge, but that arrest, the thing that he's arresting you for, he's forgiving that and he's just going to take you to jail. Did he take the cuffs off at that point? So now you've not committed a crime, but he hasn't taken the cuffs off. Did they turn the air on? Did they give you something to drink? I mean, did they make it?
So they
Okay.
turned the air on. He said, come on, we're going to St. Joe's. So
Okay.
I get real scared when I go to the hospital because I had a lot of trauma with my last 2 pregnancies. So I just started hyperventilating real bad, and he still had me cuffed. As soon as we got to the hospital, he uncuffed me, rolled me to the hospital, saying that I needed to get checked out.
Back up a little bit from the computer. I think you're catching the static again from the mic because I'm getting a text again and saying it's getting more staticky. Hold on one quick second. So yeah, just sit back, just like closer to Ray. Okay, go ahead. Just try it again.
I said that
Perfect.
you can hear me though?
I can hear you better. Yep.
Okay, my phone was right there. But I was saying that when we got to the hospital, he uncuffed me and then he reeled me down to the registration part. They got gave me my name and they was like, we need her to be checked out because she's having shortness of breath. She's a little bit lethargic. And I just was like, what? So I'm just sitting there till he's like, here's her ID. And then he kept telling me to be quiet. and all of this stuff. So at this point, I got real nervous because he kept coming into the room and all of this
Who
stuff.
was coming into
And
the
then,
police? Coming into the examination room?
no, they had me in the conference room.
At the hospital. Okay. Okay.
It's behind like the vending machines and stuff.
Oh, okay.
With
So you're
the,
talking about the waiting room and stuff. You were in the waiting room.
no, not
With
the waiting room. It was the conference.
It's in the waiting room, but in the waiting room they also have like little conference private
is this the
rooms.
area like where they take families, like when they want to discuss stuff with the families? Okay, so they've got you separated. Now, where did the Narcan happen with you? Because we'll get to Ray in a second. Where did the Narcan happen with you? Because something happened after you got hit with Narcan.
I'm at the hospital and I'm feeling real dizzy. Like I get real, I don't know. It just was like really weird. So I just started feeling real dizzy. So sometimes I have a seizure disorder. So sometimes that comes on when I'm really stressed out or under a lot of stress. Seizures come on. So I was like, I don't feel good. I'm dizzy and all of this stuff. And he was like, what do you mean? I'm like, my chest is hurting because I just had heart surgery. And he just sat there and kept going back and telling the nurse. So then I just started feeling real woozy and I laid on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I don't feel good. I don't feel good. Could you please get the doctor? So the nurse came in and then she's like, her status 92. That's all I remember.
Okay.
That's all I remember. And then I remember like slowly blinking up and being real dizzy. And I hear push one thing of Narcan. And then I hear one thing of Ativan. And then I hear them tearing off my shirt. And then everything just went blank.
So you were awake when they sprayed you. Did you get sprayed or was it an injection?
They gave me, yep, I got my test. I got my paperwork from my
He
training.
said, did you get sprayed or was it an injection?
They gave me an injection in this arm.
With the Narcan.
Yes, 2 times.
And you were awake when they did all of this.
I heard them say one thing of Narcan, one thing of Ativan. So Ativan is a seizure medicine. When you think somebody's going to have a seizure, it helps prevent seizures. It's in my chart that I have seizures. So I remember seeing the officer at the door, and I remember my mom coming in. And I hear my mom say she has really bad seizures. My daughter's been having seizures since she, giving them the history.
Mm-hmm.
So they was like, we don't know if this is a seizure or an opiate overdose. That's what the police
Did
said.
they ever ask you, have you taken any drugs? Have you taken any opiates or anything like that?
I didn't hear none of that.
And they never
So
asked you while you were at the apartment complex or anything, did you have any drugs? He looked through your purse. He didn't find anything. So there was really no reason to give you Narcan at that point. There was no reason for them to administer that. So he gave it to you for what reason? Did they ever tell you why they gave you the Narcan?
So this is what was said to me. So after all of that, I ended up hearing my phone ring. I was in and out of consciousness. Now, at this point, we got arrested around like 2 p.m. I woke up at 5 a.m. the next day in the hospital. And I remember like ringing the nurse bell and the doctor coming in. I'm like, I need to speak to the head doctor. I don't know what's going on. Like, my friend is telling me it's the next day, and I have like, too many missed calls and text messages. Like, everybody's looking for me because they was calling the jail. They were calling. My mom was like, the last place was I seen is my daughter at the hospital. She usually called me. She was getting worried. She was calling up there. They wasn't giving her no information, nothing.
Okay, so where were you at this point? Were you still in ER? They just had you on a bed in ER, or they put you in?
I'm like, so the doctor's like, we gave him. I'm like, what did you give me? I don't ever feel like this after a seizure. I'm woozy. Did y'all get? I was like feeling like weird. She was like, we gave you 2 things of Narcan. We gave you.
You're talking to the doctors, though. You're not talking to the police.
I'm talking to the doctor.
Right. So did the doctors administer the Narcan or did WCSO administer the Narcan?
No, he was telling them that I was high off opiates. So they treated me as an opiates patient until my mom got up there and
Okay.
told them, my daughter don't do drugs. My daughter
Okay.
did a seizure.
But the
So
but the
it was,
but the officer said that you were high on opiates.
yeah.
Okay. Here, let me explain something to you. One, I'm not sure how he came to that conclusion. If he's asked you, if he searched your person, search your purse, I'm not sure why he said that. So that's something you definitely need to investigate it. And two, there's general ways for medical professionals to know if you're high or not on opiates. I mean, hell, they can administer a drug test. You know, they could have had you pee in a
So
cup.
they did a drug test on me, but they gave me the medicine before the test results came.
Yeah, but they didn't give you opiates.
No, they gave me the well,
It's still after you had Narcan, if you have opiates in your system, it would still show that.
so that's what I'm trying to get to.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. The Narcan doesn't get rid of the opiates; it just, combats it.
so my screen was negative for everything but marijuana.
Okay, which is not an opiate. Okay, so how did you get shot with Narcan, Ray?
So my story is a little different.
Sure.
Like I said, I was pretty loud, and so he tried to get me to the jail fast. We arrived at the jail. He pulled into the sally port of the jail. The deputies from inside of the jail came out, and at that point, they were asking me if I was going to be cooperative, if I was going to be willing to go through the process. I said, yes, absolutely. I said, I just want to get in and get booked because I know I'll see the magistrate in the morning and be released on OR. Like, yes, can we get this process going? I'm ready. At that time, I did become tearful just because of the whole situation. I started thinking about the kids. I didn't know what was going on with Tia, if she was at the jail, what was happening. I knew that the kids were the last that I knew of, that they were at my apartment alone. And so I was worried. And so I became a little tearful, and they were asking me questions. At that point, they said that they were going to have a nurse come out because I had some abrasions on my face. I didn't know this. I wasn't feeling it, and I didn't see, obviously, my face. So I didn't realize. So they had the nurse come out, and the nurse said, okay, I have to take some pictures. Where did you get these injuries from? And I said, the police. And she asked the officer, like, did this happen with you guys? He confirmed, yes, that's where it happened. They took pictures. At that point, another nurse came out. They began telling, so the officer at that point was still standing aside. He was like, you'll see, she's not going to be cooperative when she goes in there. You'll see, this is how she is. This is how she acts. Blah, blah, blah. Telling them just basically a bunch of negative stuff that is actually not true about me. I'm actually a registered behavior therapist, and I work with children with autism. So I'm quite the opposite of that normally. And so it definitely wasn't true. And then at that point, I was too sweating profusely. It was really hot. They never rolled down the window for me. And then there was, of course, the little partition in the middle. So I'm sure he had the air on up there, but I could not feel in the air myself.
Sure.
At that point, so I'm talking with the nurses. The nurses are asking me, if I'm oriented to where I am. So do you know where you are? Do you know what year it is? Do you know who the president is? Do you know what day it is? All those questions. I answered all of their questions.
Okay.
Then I hear the officers, the nurse says, why are you sweating so much? And I said to her, I think I'm just really like overheated. I kept asking him to roll down the window, and he wouldn't. I said, and then we were fighting. I said, I think I'm just hot, literally, and my body is sweating because of everything that's been going on. At that point, the officer looked at the nurse and said, I think she might be going through some type of withdrawal from her opiates because she was just very combative and resisting, and now she's sweating profusely and very calm.
So
And
they
at
think
that point,
you're detoxing. I
he
mean,
said
they
I
think you're
was,
de.
yes, he said he thought I was withdrawing. So at that point, I asked or no, I'm sorry. At that point, the nurse asked me, "Have you taken anything?" She asked the officer to step away. So there were two nurses and like the jail staff kind of surrounding me. I was still sitting in the car at this point. I kept telling the nurse, "No, I have not taken anything." I said, "I smoked a blunt earlier this morning." I said, "Other than that, there's no drugs in my system." I said, "I'm not under the influence of anything." They kept persisting, saying, "Well, the officer said that you may be under the influence. You can tell us, you won't get another charge, you won't get in trouble. Just tell us so we can get you to the hospital and get you some help." I was very adamant. I don't need any help at the hospital. I'm fine. Please take me into the jail and get me booked. I'm not on any drugs. So then at that point, the officer came back over and he was like, "So what are we going to do here? Are we going to take her in, or do you guys think she needs to go to the hospital?" And the nurse looked at me again and said, "Did you take anything?" I said, "No." He said, "I don't believe her." And at that point, I heard a nurse say, "Go to get 1 dose of the Narcan." So I was literally sitting there straight up, my hands cuffed behind my back, and the Narcan was shot up my nose. And I felt like this horrible, nasty, like medicine taste go down my throat. And so at that point, I really started crying because I didn't know what I had been given. I was getting nervous. I'm like, what is going on? Like, I thought I was going to jail. Why am I now given medicine? I was aware of what Narcan is, so I was even more surprised because I'm like, why am I getting Narcan? I've never needed this. I know what this is for. At that point, like I said, I became more tearful. And then the officer was like, "See, this is what I mean." She keeps going back and forth. And then the nurse asked me again, "Did you take anything?" The officer kept saying to me, "Tell them what you took, Rayvon. Tell them what you took." I was like, "I didn't take anything. I am not on drugs. Why are you sweating?" I said, "I'm hot." At that point, my moods were changing because I was getting agitated because I was trying to explain that I'm not on drugs, and you're
Right.
accusing me and treating me as if I am on drugs. And so as I was literally in the middle of talking, they give me another dose of the Narcan up my nose. And
So
at
that's
that point,
we're dose 2 now. We're at dose 2.
two at this point, I'm still in
Okay.
the police car. And at that point, I just start feeling like really sick to my stomach. And I told them, I was like, "I think I'm about to throw up." I was like, "I really don't feel good." I was like, "Well, I think I don't know what's happening. I don't know what you gave me, but I think whatever you gave me is making me feel sick." And so then at that point, the nurse said, "Okay, let's get her on out of the car." They got me out of the car. They said, "We're going to have you lay on your side." I was still handcuffed at this point. The cop took the handcuffs from the back and put them in the front. They laid me on my side. I laid there crying. They were like, "We're going to call EMS and go. You need to go to the hospital and get detoxed first before we can accept you inside of the jail." I kept saying again that I wasn't under the influence of anything. I hadn't taken any type of drug, any narcotics, opiates, all the questions that they were asking me. And at that point, while I was laying down, I was given a third dose. And so when I was getting the third dose, I started throwing up just like out of nowhere.
So wait a minute. So you're still comprehending everything that they're saying. You're still talking to them,
Oh, absolutely.
and they still shot you with a third dose?
Yes. And then they were telling me the ambulance is on the way. They're coming. And so at that point, the ambulance
I guess so. Shit.
Exactly. You're going to need an ambulance now. The ambulance arrived, and it was actually a EMT that I had met previously,
Mhm.
because I too have a seizure disorder. And so she had actually picked me up from work when I had a seizure at work a few months ago. And so she told when I guess they told her that I was giving Narcan, and she was like, why was she giving Narcan? And the officer said, because we thought she may be under the influence. And
No,
said,
no. They didn't think. They said that you were, and you told him that you hadn't been under, you hadn't had any drugs. And we're still at the jail now. We're not at the hospital, right? Because they
we're
sent for the EMT. So you're still at the jail. So all of this stuff is being administered by Washtenaw County jail nurse practitioners and stuff like this. This isn't separate people. Okay. All right. I'm just trying to stay up with it. So deputy's still there. The nurse for the jail is all in charge. So it almost sounds like they were trying to backpedal at that point. Like, if she asked, why would they? So, and I stopped you right there. So she asked, why'd you administer Narcan? And then they start explaining. So continue what their explaining was.
After that, she says to them, well, I can tell you now, she's not a drug addict. I've had this patient before. I'm very aware of her medical history. And you guys should not have given her Narcan. And then at that point, they were like, well, we need to get her on the stretcher and get her out. We're not accepting her into the jail. I, too, do not like the hospital. Again, I was anxious to kind of get in and get the process over with and being booked. So I was telling the EMT, I'm like, look, I don't care what they're saying. Like, I just threw up because they stuck a bunch of stuff up my nose, but like, I'm fine. I don't need to go to the hospital. She was like, well, they're not going to allow you to come into the jail, so you have to come with us to the hospital. At that point, the officer said, we're taking too long with this, speed it up. Either she's going or she's going.
Right.
And said, we can pick her up and put her on the stretcher. The EMT was like, no, please don't, just give me a minute to try to talk to her and like get her a little bit calmed down, and then we'll get her in the back. At that point, they picked me up, put me onto the stretcher. I still have on the handcuffs at this point.
So wait a minute. So while they're administering the Narcan and all that stuff, you literally have your hands still behind your back?
Yes. So for the first 2 doses, my hands were behind my back. I was still cuffed. For the third dose, I was cuffed, but my cuffs were in the front. And when I got so the MT arrives, we talk for a couple minutes. She convinces me, and like I said, they just picked me up anyway and put me on the stretcher. So at that point, we're in the back of the ambulance. She takes my vitals, my blood pressure, heart rate, everything's high because of the situation that had just occurred. And so she's like, I want you to take some deep breaths for me. Like, let's try to get your pressure and your heart rate down a little bit. And so at that point, I started explaining to her like what was happening and everything. And she's like, they gave you Narcan? And I was like, yes, 3 times. And she was like, oh, I don't understand. She even made a comment that she wanted to punch the cop in the face for the first time ever, she said. And then, so I arrived at the hospital. The officer followed the EMTs to St. Joe's, the arresting officer. I got to the hospital. The ambulance rode me in on the stretcher. At that point, the officer, he was like walking in with us as well. He came over to me. He said, Rayvon, I'm really sorry about all of this, and it had to go this far. He said, what do you think made you become so upset? And I told him, like, I didn't like what you guys did to my friend, and then I didn't like that you just grabbed me when I was telling you I could walk. I don't understand. And he was like, well, I'm just really sorry. It escalated to this point. At that point, he uncuffed me.
Is this the same cop that told you you're going to fucking jail? You shouldn't. Okay. So now he's being nice. Now he's consoling you. I'm sorry. Okay. So he flipped the script. He became a very nice, and he's no longer cussing and telling you vulgar shit. Got it.
Completely. very professional. I'm sorry. He told me later on when I got out the hospital if I needed anything that I could give him a call. Um, I am not making this up. And then he uncuffed me. He handed me my phone and my Crocs, which were both, my shoes came off and my phone was dropped during the scuffle back at my apartment complex. So he
Right.
gave those items back to me. And he walked out of the door that the ambulance took me into. So at that point, I was really confused because I was like, I thought I was under arrest. And the ambulance driver was like, no, you're not under arrest. You're going to be treated at the hospital. I said, for what? She said, they seem to think you're under the influence. But I think it might have something to do with maybe your sugar or your epilepsy. So I just want you to get triaged and checked out.
Let me just tell you something, and this is just me being a old man who just Googles shit. I've got 4 things literally that say that Narcan raises blood pressure. Now, it's typically for people that are going into septic shock and different things like that. But in young adults, they say, and I would classify you as young adults because you're younger than me, that it can definitely increase your heart rate and it can raise your blood pressure. Now, if you both are susceptible to seizures and different things like that, I mean, I'm not even adding in the fact that it was hot. You know, you were probably slightly dehydrated if, you know, things were happening there. A lot of whatever was going on could have raised your blood pressure. Then they give you 3 doses of Narcan. I mean, I'm sure that it probably didn't have an adverse effect on you because you weren't like on opiates, but it could have easily, and this is why I said you got to stay with the attorney. But the one thing that all this happened inside the jail or medical part of the jail, that's cammed up too. That's all cammed up too. This is why an attorney can get all of this camera footage, because I think you're going to need it. If what you're saying is like 80% factual, you're going to need it. You're going to need it. I mean, I don't doubt that it's 100% fact, but if what you're saying is 80% factual, you're going to need it. And that's just me to you. I'm not an attorney. I ain't been to nobody's law school. You know, I can just tell you this isn't standard procedure. Not in my life. I mean, it sounds like, you know, they might have thought there was something going on, but then to actually go right to the Narcan with you in the jail with Tia at the hospital and you never lost consciousness, that's odd to me. That's just, I mean, because I only knew Narcan to be used with people that were actually incoherent, like they were trying to revive them in some way. I'm sorry, go ahead.
So when I was there, I remember blacking out. And then when I finally came to, Ray Vaughn was calling me. I had like 18 missed calls from her, text messages, and I had some from mom. And everybody kept blowing me up. Finally, she called. I'm like, hello, mom. Like, after coming out of the seizure, your body's tired. Like I said, we got arrested at 2 p.m. the day before. So when I woke up at 5 a.m. the next morning.
I mean, that's 15 hours that you have unaccounted for. And I mean, I'm sure if you stayed in a hospital that long, they may have not even admitted you, but there was a check-in point and then there was a check-out point. You need to make sure you have all that stuff and be able to present all that stuff to an attorney as well.
Everything.
I'm sorry?
I screenshotted everything. It has
Okay.
all the doctor's notes, everything I'm telling you is aligning up to it.
I look, I'm not the person you need to document this to. I'm just telling you what you went through is not normal. And you need to have an attorney tell you, oh, you don't have anything here, or tell you pretty much what I'm telling you, but speak the language that an attorney speaks. This isn't normal. And any police officer that says, oh, I'm sorry, it was our mistake, we didn't do this, that's a CYA move. Y'all know what CYA is, right? Cover your ass, okay? He's saying something that and I'm not sure exactly what the apology is for. Is the apology for administering the Narcan? Is the apology for throwing you on the ground? Is the apology for the? There's a reason, but there's whether they had body cams on or not, because that's all going to matter down the line. Whether you didn't get charged with anything, because I believe that's even how we got to talking. Because again, you said you got an update. I think a text message you sent me. You got an update. Who called you when they said they weren't going to charge you? Who actually called you from the county?
So we actually have been continuing to call the prosecutor's office and ask, do we have charges? And I called her the next day, the day after. I've even called this week as well. And I was told that not only are there no charges, but she said that she doesn't see that there was any police interaction on the date regarding me. She was like, the last interaction I have was from several years ago. So she was like, no, there's nothing recent here.
Okay. So,
and then,
yeah. And I get that. I get that. So what you're saying is they're trying to act like this never happened. And
yeah.
you're only going to get so far as a citizen, as citizens. This is why an attorney has to come into play, because from, let's just say we encapsulate the whole day and you go from 1 p.m. I know you said it was 2, but let's go from 1 p.m. to 5 a.m. the next morning. They can account for where those officers were, where those squad cars were, body cam footage, all that stuff. And if they start coming up with zeros and you've got an attorney on it, it ain't gonna fly. It ain't, I mean, because nobody goes unaccounted for. If that's the case, then nobody would absolutely know where police are at the time. And dispatchers have to know. You know, their cars, you know, are GPS. They've got GPS devices on them with the body cams. They've got dash cams. So now they're trying to act like this didn't happen. And this is the only reason that we're talking. I mean, I care about you ladies. I care about, I'm going to ask you a question in a second, but somebody actually just put in the chat, a friend of mine says, I worked at Community Mental Health Partnership for 5 years. Granted, it was in finance, but we handled all substance and disorder and mental health for funding for 4 counties. It is my understanding, this is somebody that works for CMH, that Narcan is only used for unconscious persons suspected of drug overdose, which is what we've said. And this is from a former CMH employee. So I'm not sure exactly where any of this plays out. I've never heard of Narcan being used on a person who's talking like we're talking. So if that's a new thing that they're doing, or if it's been done to other people, this is going to come out as well. I mean, I don't get a whole lot of views on my stuff, 200-300 people generally per stream, but stuff like this tends to carry a little bit more weight because it's a human interest situation. And I'll make sure that I tag Community Mental Health. I'll make sure that I tag Washtenaw County Sheriff's Department. I'll make sure that I tag every police agency on the post so they can watch this playback. This is nuts. I mean, literally, this is nuts. Okay. So now that we've gotten all that out, now I got to ask, why don't y'all have any fear dealing with the police? Because you two are fearless. I mean, I've heard her talk about taking me to jail. I heard you say like, yeah, I'm good. I'll go to jail. Where does that fear come from? You've had some type of encounter somewhere down the line that is, and I salute you for your courage. Although being in the hands of police, we already know how things can go. But why do you have this just fearlessness where police are concerned? What is taking place in your lives to where you are literally, Tia, you got 10 kids, so you ain't scared of nobody. I get it. So Ravon, why are you not scared of police? Why are you not scared?
Well,
oh, go ahead, Ray. So I've had an extremely difficult life.
Okay.
I grew up in and out of foster care.
Okay.
I was very abusive. I was sex trafficked for several years. And I've been almost killed. I've been shot at. I've had my throat cut. I've been kidnapped, the whole 9 yards. So to be honest, Washtenaw County doesn't really faze me.
Okay.
They don't put a lot of fear into my heart because I've been through some lifetime movie type of stuff.
Sure.
And so, yeah, I'm just not afraid of them because I've been through a lot worse than
Fair
the
enough.
police.
Fair. I knew it had to be some type of life altering, life changing, life threatening incident or incidents. And dealing with foster care, you're literally the third person that I don't know what the hell is going on in foster care. But you're like the third person that has told me that they've gone through foster care and this person was just as fearless as you're speaking. I mean, I don't know exactly what it does, but it's a brutal situation. So now you, Tia, outside of you being a fearless mama, what have you gone through to make you not, I mean, because you bought it too. So I need to know where's your situation at? Why do you have no fear of the badge?
Because I grew up on the south side of Ipsy, like before it became real nice. And
Before all the white people moved in?
yeah.
Okay. You grew up in the low riders in the 28 stage. You grew up before they had Teslas and Priuses and shit. Okay, I got you.
So, I grew up in a rocky situation with my parents. Both of them, was doing some crazy stuff back in the day.
Okay.
And my mom ended up losing rights to us, and then we went to go live with my aunt. And then it was really rough there. I got molested there. I became the black sheep after I started telling them that I was, being molested. So I began treated differently from my family.
Sure.
So I don't fuck with them for real.
I got
Only
you.
a few of them. So.
And that's unfortunate because you actually exposed your detriment to them, and then they turn their back on you. And this is what makes people not talk about domestic violence. This is what makes people not talk about, sexual abuse and things like that, because their families tend to either turn against them or they don't believe them. So I get that, and I know we've had a little bit of fun here, been sarcastic, but this is where I get real serious because I know that this happens more times than not. I know that there's scenarios where young ladies, even young men, are molested or abused in their household, and as soon as they tell someone that they think they can trust, they're ostracized, and compartmentalized and basically shunned at that point because, I mean, you still going to the barbecue and Uncle Willie over here done molested you, or hell, Aunt Martha or somebody, that molested you, and they get to come to the barbecue just like you, and ain't nobody saying nothing to them, and you be ready to just set it off. I get it. I've seen it. And it's unfortunate, and I want to apologize just for humankind, not for mankind or womankind, just for humankind, that you both had to go through all that stuff. But if I can tell you anything, because we've pretty much said what we needed to say here tonight, if I can tell you anything, you need to stay on the attorney that you dealt with. Have you had some thorough conversations with the attorney? Have you kind of broken things down, or are you in that stage of doing so? Do you feel like that person is going to be suitable? Because if not, there's some other people that, I can hopefully put you in contact with too. But have you gotten some questions answered from that individual? We don't want to say his name here because we definitely don't want the county going at him trying to. So have you had any conversations with that individual?
I have not. So I've actually been looking for another one. So
okay, so here's my advice to you. Well, you know what county we're in, right? What county we're in? Washington, right? Try Oakland. Don't do Wayne. Do Oakland. Do Lenawee. Do Livingston. Try to find an attorney that's not directly connected to Washtenaw County. Washtenaw County is a beast, and WCSO is a beast. And this is just me to you. Washtenaw County Sheriff's Office is ran by Jerry Clayton. Jerry Clayton is very high up into the Washtenaw County Democratic Party. Okay. He's actually very high up in the Michigan Democratic Party. Anybody close to us is going to be all looped in with the Democratic Party. they're not going to want to go against the machine. And WCSO is part of the machine. Find some conservative area that don't give a fuck about the Democratic Party. Livingston County, Oakland County, and Lenawee County. Those are more conservative territories. Tell them what happened to you. Don't put in any fluff in. Tell them the exact situation, what happened to you. And I guarantee you'll get some act right. And I'll reach out to some people who I know people that are outside the county to see if I can give you a little bit. I have no problem with this because you need justice. You need justice because you ain't talked about no money or anything like that. But, and I'm sorry, is not going to work here. I mean, you, Tia, you could have died and you could have been severely injured, Ravon, hell, just being thrown on the concrete all the way to the administering of the 3 doses. From what I know, 1 dose is actually enough to revive an addict. You got 3 doses. How many doses did you get, Tia? You got 2. So 5 doses for 2 people that didn't have any opiates in their system. I mean, I'm lucky to be sitting here talking to both of y'all. So take this as serious as you can and don't let much time lapse, because what's going to happen is they're going to try to sweep this under the rug. And eventually somebody's probably going to reach out to you from the county once this thing takes flight, because it's going to take flight. You just have to stay on it. And I mean, I'm telling you, you might save somebody else's life. You're good. But what if you hear about somebody else getting hit with Narcan and they didn't have opiates in their system and you didn't put this out there? You know, so you not only can save yourself, you might be saving somebody else's life. And that's really all I can say there, because I don't have anything else for legal advice other than just talk to an attorney, but find one outside the county, one that really doesn't give a shit about Washtenaw County Sheriff's Office, and there's plenty. Trust me. I mean, you know, Jerry's very powerful in his wheelhouse. And I don't know if you've come across people like Derek Jackson who are on the board of...
So to explain a little more really quick here, I don't know if you were ever aware of the issue regarding Safe House in Ann Arbor. And there was basically, after leaving my situation from the sex trafficking, I went to Safe House. When I went to Safe House, the conditions were absolutely horrible, deplorable. And so I reached out to Pat Lesko when I saw that she had wrote a previous article. So I have talked to a lot of people. I've actually met with Ellie Savitt, myself personally, other people. I've met Derek Jackson, a lot of people at the Sheriff's Department. And that's also why they are very aware of my name.
Okay.
As well. So they called me the whistleblower for Safe House because of me speaking out and Pat Lesko writing those articles. What ended up happening is the director of Safe House they say that she stepped away, but she was fired. And so Greg Bill is also a board member of Safe House and the county commissioner and all of that. So yeah, we're very aware of everyone and how they, or the administrator, I'm sorry, and how they work and how everyone is basically together. And so it's wise to step outside of the county regarding this rather than trying to get somebody who's in the county.
Yeah.
And with them.
That's good thinking. I mean, and I think that's where you will find a tad bit more insight, because I think the individual that I did send to you, if I'm not mistaken, I think he might have run for public office. So that lets you know that he's kind of connected to the wheel. I'm just thinking about it, you know, and it's unfortunate because once people do get hemmed in with the Washtenaw County wheel, they don't want to go against it because there's going to be things that they need down the line. You know, anybody that's trying to be elected, appointed, you know, or whatever, they probably don't want to have that smoke with the county. So find somebody who just really doesn't give a shit about the county and they have no problem other than, seeking justice for you as clients. Whether you go about it, collectively or individually, I think you both need to be talking to an attorney. And if for documentation, I mean, I'm not sure where it goes, like with civil suits and all that crap, but you need all this stuff documented. I mean, you need to find out body cam footage. That's why I say from the time that the encounter started with the disorderly thing. Hell, if they came up into your apartment building and they sat those slips down at your door, they should have had body cams on them because they knocked on your door. What if you came out with a knife in your hand or something like that? So there has to be some proof of their whereabouts and things that went on. It's just a real odd set of circumstances that all that happens, and then now everybody's saying sorry. It's our bad. We didn't mean to do that. Hopefully you're feeling better. Okay, see you later. Bye. Did you get cards? Did you get business cards from everybody, from all the people that you encountered?
Not even a police report.
The only encounter I got is on my medical records. You know how they got like the doctor's note.
Mm-hmm.
So it says 29-year-old Tia Lee Jackson is being transported through Washington Police Department or something like that for being belligerent and all. They had like a bunch of stuff on there.
Okay. All right. So here's the thing. The lawyer is going to be able to solve all of this cancer. Okay. Because there's got to be an A to Z situation here. Everything that you said, it makes sense to me that it could happen. But the main thing is they've got to put the pieces of the puzzle together. I mean, already it sounds like Washington County really doesn't want to deal with you if you've been called a whistleblower. Most whistleblowers, they try to discount, they try to stay out. It's funny that nobody currently has called you.
So
I'm sorry.
Tia did receive a call from her attorney who was able to do a little digging. And what did she say?
She said that she went to the police department and asked to speak to the officers. And she talked to them and they said that they recognized me and Ray from the newspaper from Safe House. And they didn't want to cause any more trauma to us.
Okay, so now they're trying to protect their badge. So they understand, what type of smoke the A2 Independent can possibly bring them as individuals, maybe to the sheriff's department. And I, obviously their superiors have probably told them to, get out there and tap dance, say sorry, do whatever you got to do to get the smoke off of us. I mean, that's the only thing that I could say, because if they had all that heat before, they had no idea who you were. Now they've got common knowledge of who you are. Now nobody wants to say anything and they want to apologize. And no, that's not good enough. That's in my book, and I think you need to keep the same attitude that you've had thus far and just find an attorney that's willing to walk this down slow. I'm sorry, go ahead.
We started like going home and then like the next day we were like sleep. We were like, we told the oldest boy, please help us. My oldest son was so stressed out. And we couldn't help it. Like our body just like slept after all of that. And we started getting our test results. And those stated that my sugar was low, her sugar was low. Mm-hmm. When they gave it to us, they gave us, in my chart for that hospital, it says that I can't have a certain type of seizure medicine. They gave me like that medicine I'm not supposed to have. So like,
really?
Yep. And I have proof of it. I screenshotted it and everything. Yeah.
Lawyer.
Yeah.
It's all, I'm seriously, lawyer. I'm just telling you, do yourself a favor, lawyer. I mean, literally, they could have gave you something that could have killed you. Didn't even have to be Narcan.
Yeah.
They could have gave you something that, if there's specific medications that you're not even supposed to take, they literally could have gave you something that could have lawyer.
So when I woke up and Ray was on the phone, she called me an Uber to come pick me up. One of them tried to wheel me down, and as I got out the bed, I was like all wiggly falling over. I'm like, something is wrong with me. So, she ended up, when I got to her apartment, she helped me out the car and up the stairs, and we just slept a whole day away.
Yeah.
It was
Lawyer,
crazy.
ladies, lawyer. Seriously, because you have something that I personally don't think that you're the only ones that have had it happen to. Just maybe the other people don't know any better, or maybe the other people were, maybe they had something in their system. You know, I mean, hell, if you just had a surgery, you could still have something in your system from an IV that's considered a narcotic, you know? And even though you're lucid, then they could justify and say, hey, well, they had this in their system. They had morphine in their system. Okay. But, you know, or they had hydrocodone or something like that in their system. Could have been pain medication. But you didn't have any of that. You didn't test positive for any of that. So absolutely, there's no reason for them to have snuffed you both with, I mean, they injected you, Tia, and they, you know, hit you in the nose with it. So I guess that's really kind of appropriate why, you know, I actually put this whole situation up with the thing. I put the syringe up and I put the spray up. So it was very appropriate that I did so. You know, I didn't even know until tonight. So one got the syringe and one got the spray. But what I think you need to do at this point is focus on getting some representation, because they're going to be able to speak the king and queen's language with the county and whomever, getting all the documentation, getting all that stuff. I'm really just here to help you document your situation. I'll literally send you a link that you can download to your computer. It won't be the standard YouTube link, but it'll be something you can download to your computer. Well, I'll just send it to the email address, and then you do what you need to do with that. But the main thing for you is you need to talk to somebody who can represent you from this point on. There's no point in going back and forth, especially if they've actually kind of admitted some guilt, saying, oh yeah, well, we know who you are because you dealt with this situation. And if they're calling you a whistleblower and backpedaling at the same time, yeah. What's that game? Mortal Kombat? Finish them. Finish them. You know, that's what I have to say. I mean, and you know, I'm glad you're healthy. I'm glad you're happy. I'm glad nothing happened to the kids. But you need to lawyer up, ladies. All right.
Well, thank you.
You definitely need to lawyer up. We'll talk more. But you know, nothing that we need to put here. But I'm glad you're able to document this, and I think you're going to help people. I actually think you're going to help people, because I have a feeling, whether it be in Washtenaw County or some other places, I bet you have had this happen. People just don't know what to do. And that's what this is really about. This is about exposing the wrong people that are supposed to be in the right positions, but they're, you know, I've never seen any situation like this. I mean, I would have said, okay, one person it happened to, but two people in the same situation. You were in two different situations. You were at the hospital, Tia, and you were at the jail still. I'm not sure how so much foolishness went on in one day. But you've just got to get somebody to be able to represent you and just take care of business from this point on, and be safe, you know, and with all your fearlessness, I appreciate you, but just be safe out here. Cause I mean, that can go another direction with the wrong kind of officer, with the wrong kind of individual. And I'm thankful that it didn't. The fact that you were taken to the ground by a man, any awkward movement, anything could have happened there. And hell, they were trying to get you in the car, Tia, smashing your leg with the car door, all that stuff. That all needs to be dealt with by somebody, by a legal professional, because where they were talking about attempted assault, I think you both were assaulted by officers. I think there was both undue. There's a word for it. You know, it's not abuse of power, but you know, I think. Why am I drawing a blank here? I've watched enough cop shows. I should know this. But no, there's a situation where, you know, when a cop does something, you know, he does some excessive force. I think there was some excessive force. See, y'all done dealt with the police more than I have. So excessive force. I think there was some excessive force that was used here. And I could be wrong on that, but it doesn't sound like you were really presenting a threat, Ravon, coming out. He just said, basically, you came out the house, you going to jail, did what he did, and then the whole not making sure you were secure in the car, Tia, and slamming your foot. I mean, I don't know what they were trying to prove, you know, because you weren't going to get your foot in the door any better by them just continuing to shut the door on it. And it's maybe they thought you were going to, you know, pop your leg. And I don't know. I don't even want to forecast. I ain't giving nobody no ideas, you know, to conjure up a lie. But lawyer, that's all I have to say is lawyer. And take care of yourselves and take care of them babies. Okay. Take care of them babies. Y'all doing what you need to do out here. I just don't, you know, leave them clowns alone. If they out there arguing or whatever, leave them clowns alone. Let them people be them people, you know, because as long as it's not you, as long as you're not in the middle of it, it's done got crazy out there in Aspen Chase. I mean, this might be the first week that was this like the first Thursday we didn't have a shooting? It's been a shooting like every Thursday for like 2 months or something. You know? Yeah. I mean, so, you know, well, oh, I'm sorry, it's Wednesday. It ain't even Thursday yet. Okay. So hopefully we can get through tomorrow without a shooting, you know? Yeah. Hopefully we can get through tomorrow without a shooting, but y'all take care of yourselves and just, you got my number. Just call me if you need any help, but you know, I'll do what I can for you just to make sure you get to this other side.
Thank you so much.
No problem. You ladies take care of yourself. Like I said, take care of them babies and just be able to get back and forth to work safe and all that. That's what means much more to me than any of this other madness. Everything else is going to take care of itself. All right.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. We'll talk soon. You're welcome. Be safe.
You know, this revolution is filled with so many ironies.
Goodbye.
Really. First, you tell us that it is manly to keep your word, right? If you are a man, you keep your word. And now all of the black people in this country are demanding, and even the black people in the whole world are demanding, is that you keep your word. You told us we were free. Well, then show us that we're free. You told us that there is justice, equality for all in this country. Well, then stick to your word and let us see the justice and equality for all. Or else admit to us that you're not a man, you're a word, you're afraid of us, you're afraid to give us equal stand. You're afraid that if you give us equal ground, that we will match you and we will override you.